So 2 days ago, I tweeted about having gone to the Transatlantic tour with Tessa Violet, Rusty Clanton, Dodie Clark, and by the grace of God, John Cozart, because I live in an area where it's most convenient to drive to see a show where John Cozart is at. That does not mean I live in DC, by the way. It just means it was the most convenient one to go to. So I'm sure a lot of you are wondering what went down. I'm sure even more of you are not wondering what went down, but you're going to hear anyway, because I wrote it down to preserve in memory for myself, and I want it to be preserved for myself somewhere else. And what's a more permanent place than YouTube? So I'm just going to read this thing that I wrote for you all, and for me primarily. Alright, so before the concert, I drew a picture of Dodie with like shading and a stupid eye that was in the wrong spot. And I wrote her a letter talking about how she had brought Best Friend and me closer together. And this was at Best Friend's house. I went from school to Best Friend's house to concert. To my house. And so after that, we went to the place, the venue, the church, and we got there about half an hour early. I think it was actually 32 minutes, just because of course I'm going to remember something like that. So we talked to a bunch of other people who were there, and just chatted, had a good time, talked about like stress and whatever, and the door was sort of like propped open, because I think the church does not have air conditioning, and it was getting really hot in there, so they had it propped open, and I saw Dodie through the open doorway, and she waved at me. We made eye contact. I made eye contact with Dodie Clark, and my heart could not contain everything that went all the emotions, and little did I know, that was not as the closest interaction I would have with Dodie Clark. So we got in, Best Friend and I managed to sit in like the first row of pews. The mic was like 6 feet away from us. If that, like, they were close. We could see them like in their little backstage space, but the first to perform was Rusty Clanton. And he was just really enthusiastic and great, and you could tell he wanted to be there, and he loved us, he was giving us good energy, we were giving him good energy. As someone who performs, I could tell he was having a good time. Like, you can tell when people are faking it and when they're really genuinely glad to be there, and he was really genuinely glad to be there. He had a cold, apparently. Sickness is a common theme. I'm going to be sick. I was sick today, but that's from exhaustion. I'm going to be sick soon. But yeah, I just really love Rusty. I liked him before, I really love him now. He played Novels, which is like the only song of his that he played that I think he played Socks. Yeah. But he played Novels, which was fantastic, and at the end he mixed it with How Deep the Father's Love for Us, which for those of you who might not know is an A+ hymn. It's great. I love it, and it made sense. We were in a church. But it was a move I just wasn't expecting, because, like, I don't know. But he was just so genuine and so happy, and it was so great. Up next was Tessa Violet. So she had so much energy. Like, I don't understand. She had a cold too, and she still had so much energy. And it was kind of overwhelming at times, but like in a good way. So, there's that. Her speaking voice and singing voice are so different, so every time she like started singing, I was like surprised. But within 5 seconds, I stopped being surprised at how her voice sounded and started being surprised at how brilliant her songs were, even though I had heard all of them but one already. They're just so great. A really memorable moment of the night was when she sang Birdsong, because, you know, she did, like, her singing stuff. And in this church, so we were, like, here, and then the back of the church is here, and up here was a balcony. And that's where the three of them who were not performing, or the four of them during intermission, sat. So, but from the balcony, Rusty Clanton whistles the, like, whistle part of Birdsong without a microphone, and we all could hear him in this church. So, like, he's a good whistler. That was just really unbelievable. It was unreal. The whole night was. Because we could all hear him perfect. Tessa, like, almost made me cry, of course, because she sang Make Me a Robot. But also, what really almost made me cry was her little pep talk beforehand about how, like, we all matter, and how that specific moment mattered because it was something that could never be recreated, only replicated. And what were the odds of it being replicated anyway? It's like Zeno, maybe, said you never walk through the same river twice, or you never cross the same river twice or something. You can replicate something, but you can never truly recreate it. After Tessa, there was a brief intermission, and so Dodie was sitting up in the balcony, and what was really cool was while Rusty and Tessa had been performing, she had been harmonizing, and her voice is soft. If you've watched her videos, you know that. But we could hear her from the balcony in the front row. We kind of had to be listening for her, but we could hear her. It was soft. It wasn't, like, intrusive or anything. In fact, it added to the experience. But that's really how we knew she was up there, before anyone acknowledged her presence up there. By which I mean before Rusty was like, everybody's up there. So during intermission, and not, but during intermission I waved at her, and she waved back at me, and I was like, I couldn't breathe at this point. And then she started talking at me, and I had no idea what she was saying. But I talked back. I told her I couldn't hear her. And then she came down like 30 seconds early and, like, spoke to me and said that she was saying that she was so nervous. And I was like, you're gonna do great, Dodie. And then, of course, she did. She sang Absolutely Smitten, which, like, apparently she wrote when she was 17. Like, what was I doing last year? What? Her Toxic, Crazy Britney Spears mashup intertwined a brand new song, Sick of Losing Soulmates, and One for the Road. During Sick of Losing Soulmates, Best Friend and I sang the backing track-ish stuff, and Dodie looked up and smiled at us, a smile of surprise and encouragement. She wasn't expecting it, but she wanted us to continue. And so then, soon enough, everyone else joined us, but we started it, and that was super cool. I also started a lot of, like, applause things, which is something I always want to do, but never have successfully done in the past, so score 1 for Azaria. The big deal, though, was this new song. She asked nobody to film it, and I think we obliged, and I definitely know that we all obliged with her request to not post it online, because I searched for it and I could not find it. That's what I did today. I had a sick day and I searched all day for it and I couldn't find it, and I'm both pleased and distraught. Because it was just so beautiful and I need to hear it again. I don't know what it's going to be called, and neither does she, or at least she didn't 2 nights ago. But it was about her mental health, and it was beautiful, and I need it in my life. I really do. Finally, John performed. John had mononucleosis. So he had his own microphone and made jokes about the splash zone, which freaked me out a little because that's where Best Friend and I were, and weird immune system. But we survived, and he sang his boy band song, After Ever After, and YouTube Culture. It's not a lot of songs, is it? What did he do with all that time he was supposed to be singing? Well, I think part of it, he just kind of ended his set early. But he also read poetry. There was a poem about pennies and a poem about a grandfather in a truck, I think. And it was mediocre poetry, but poetry all the same. I liked it, but, you know, I kind of made fun of it as everyone was doing in a positive way. But my biggest observation of John is that he's more of an entertainer than simply a performer like the others were. Which is kind of cool. Like, I kind of wish the others had talked more. No! Wait! I can't see my words. My prompts. Okay. So, after the performance, I met all four of them. Not at once, but I met all four of them. I met Dodie with Best Friend, who apparently met her a second time. What the frick? But, and I hold her ukulele that she brought to have everybody sign, and I, like, got to hear her conversation, which is her story to tell if she so desires. And I then gave Dodie my letter/drawing and complimented her on her beauty and her songs and just her existence, and told her once Best Friend ran off to get more Polaroid film that she brought us closer together, and she really was pleased to hear that. And I hugged her along with starting her gift file. I then stood in line a bunch, which I did a lot that night, because I was not good at picking lines. And I met John next. Since the kid had mono, and the spit is in the air, it's not just like, don't spit into people's mouths. And that's like not enough for most people, but it's enough for my immune system. I couldn't get close enough to him to hug him. We did a super great, awkward air hug thing, though, which Best Friend decided to label intimate. In a very weird way, which is fine. He also joked about how we all want to kiss Dodie Clark, but only after I said that I wanted to kiss Dodie Clark and asked him not to tell her, and which was only after he jokingly told me just not to kiss him. So there's that. That was actually like a really great conversation. It sounds weird, but I also told him about how Best Friends and my art teacher is like super good friends with his sister, and he was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then I mentioned her name, and he was like, oh, I know her. So that's cool. He also asked if I was from DC, or at least the area, and because I'm from the area, I said, yes, I'm sort of, kind of from the area. Great, now you know I at least live on the East Coast, kids. Please don't hunt me down. Yeah, he asked me, and I didn't pursue that, and now I really want to know why he asked that. I'm like, do you recognize me, child? Yeah, but he recognized her, which is fantastic. But he just really was funny, and kind, and just so great, and he was so nervous about the religious references in YouTube culture and offending people, and I told him that as a religious person, I thought they were cool and accurate. And my final thought is 10 out of 10 would definitely meet again. Hopefully when his mononucleosis is not active and I can hug him. I then met Rusty, who gives fantastic hugs, speaking of hugs. He thought my name was super cool, even saying it sounded like I had a sword or something, which I'll definitely take. I'm down for that, and give me a sword, Rusty. He spoke with me and another kid about having people who knew of him be at a concert and people who don't know of him being at a concert. other kid didn't know of him before I did, and how he just likes having both types of people there. And he's just now one of my favorite human beings, and I really wish I remember more of our conversation, because I just remember the warmth of it. Finally, as we were leaving, I met Tessa. She thought my name was super cool, and acknowledged that I might have chosen it, and thought it was awesome that I did. She at first was like, oh, you have cool parents who gave you a cool name, or you chose it. And I was like, yeah, I chose it. And she was like, oh, that's cool. I actually have a Polaroid with Tessa, which I wasn't going to share, but whatever. Everybody looks great in Polaroids. That's her, and that's me. And it's the only photograph I have of the night. And I like it both because it's Tessa and because it symbolizes the whole night, and it just means a lot to me now. And she said that she had seen me singing along and that it was super cool, and she's really appreciated it. I love... Oh, where am I? I just said I love her, which is true. I love them all, but yeah, okay. There are like 2 random things from the night that I want to talk about from the meet and greet part. Number 1 is that I found a super cool kid named Amelia or something from Virginia, and like, hello, if you're watching, you're my favorite. We talked. It was great. Second thing, I ran into Dodie Clark. Flat out ran into Dodie. And she didn't fall over. I didn't fall over. I freaked out, though, and she was more concerned about the fact that I was freaking out than the fact that I had run into her. And I was afraid she would remember me as the kid who ran into Dodie Clark, but it seems like she hasn't. You know how I know? You'll find out. Jeez, this is a long video. That night, after the show, I decided 2 things. The first is that I decided I would write a song about Transatlantic tour. And the second is that I decided that I really, really want to be a YouTuber. I want to be someone who does stuff like this. And I want to do like big tours and small tours, and I want to meet people, and I want to be, I don't know. It's just something I want to do. In addition, I found out that Best Friend found out that Dodie is going to release an album soon, which is like, I'm freaking out about that. And finally, I made sure that I was subscribed to them all. Turns out I was missing one of them. I'm not going to say who, but I subscribed to all of them. The final, for now, and you'll hear why it's for now, piece of this story is the Twitter scandal that followed. I tweeted 2 nights ago that no video was coming because of the tour, and that I was going to write a song about the tour. That was in a separate tweet. Both times I did like tweet all 4 of them, but I wasn't expecting any of them to see it. It turns out that Rusty liked both of those tweets. And Dodie Clark liked both of those tweets. So now Rusty and Dodie are expecting a song about Transatlantic tour. No pressure or anything. Also, Dodie tweeted me about the drawing and letter, which was something I was expecting, but not prepared for. So now you've heard me talk about this for over 19 minutes. My conclusion? I can die happily, because I just got to sit through that. Like, that's it. My life is complete. That's it. I hope you have a good day.